Okay, let's try this again. Hi, our last part here on the interest group sheet. This is under number or letter B. I put this at the top of the last page where you got some space. Think tanks. And think tanks are these organizations that, in theory, are nonpartisan. I mean, realistically, they're not really. You've got some left leaning, you've got some right leaning, you've got some libertarian groups, and I'll give you some of those names in class. Organizations, though, that they have these people that they hire that they'll research, they'll think about things, and they'll write scholarly articles and have discussions and things like this that they'll publish. And very few people read these. I'm talking about the scholarly effects of I don't know, poverty on Hispanic women or something like that. But it also could be lots of issues that you and I might be affected by. Tax policy, Social Security, military, all kinds of stuff. So they publish that. They also, they'll publish, a lot of times they'll write articles that you and I might read in the news kind of thing, because they're supposed to be sort of, again, nonpartisan. But they'll also share their expertise. And what I mean by that is they'll sell this research to members of Congress, frankly, or to news organizations and things like that, so that you can, if you quote somebody that's an expert, well, according to the Brookings Institution, according to Cato, we should do this with Social Security. According to the Army College, we should do this in Afghanistan, this kind of stuff. So you kind of use them as your expert. So what you'll see these guys do is, if you ever watch a news program like Fox or CNN or something, there'll be the partisan Republican guy, there'll be the Democrat guy, they're yelling at each other. And then they'll say, well, let's bring in Bill Schmidlap from the Cato Institute, because he has done a lot of work on this topic. Bill, what's your take on this? Well, from my years of study, I feel like we should do this. This seems to make sense to me. And, I wrote here the voice of reason. It's kind of like, you bring in the expert to calm the situation down, and everybody's supposed to listen to what this guy thinks. And they're often used this way, whether it's on a news program or you'll see a member of Congress or a lobbyist, all use these things. Well, we talked to the Heritage Foundation, which is another one. There's also a group called the Federalist Society, which is kind of this. They're the ones that gave Trump his list of, here's who we think you should choose for the Supreme Court. And he just basically went down that list and started choosing people. So there's influence for sure. But these guys are used as, if you're in Congress, well, it's not me talking about this. It's the Heritage Foundation, and they're smart and they're non-biased, and you should listen to them. So they've been used more and more as sort of a hammer to beat the other side with in some ways. But you'll see them on TV, you'll see them in these news articles, you'll see them quoted. They even get called to testify at hearings, which we'll talk about later, as sort of the expert. What do you think about drunk driving accidents? Well, I did a study, and Matt is going to be emotional, and so is the other side, but this guy's supposed to be, sort of above it. So that's another type of influence on the process, I guess, other than interest groups. So they're not really interest groups, but they, I guess, kind of are. And then finally, we get down to the bottom here. Forgive the shading here. The effects. Mainly three types of effects interest groups have on the process. Number one, legislatively, they're going to get favorable laws. We're going to get the AR-15 banned, or we're not going to get the AR-15 banned. Or we are going to get little things done. Remember, in the last section, I talked about little things a lot of times. And that's where regulations come in. Let's get that fire extinguisher thing changed from 30 feet to 36 feet. Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to really notice. And all of a sudden, the restaurant industry saves $30 million a year or whatever. And this could also be, like, an example might be extending that free lunch thing till next year. Well, why not just keep doing it? Why stop now? And there'll be sides that argue against that as well. But that's basically what we're talking about there. Okay. Secondly, like I talked about with injunctions, you get injunctions to stop logging a forest. You get injunctions to stop building a dam. There was a famous case where a dam got stopped in mid-construction because an environmental impact study revealed that it would disrupt the mating patterns of a certain type of fish. So they ended up stopping the whole dam, and I don't think it ever did get built. All because the judge said, stop building this because it's going to hurt the fish. And then, frankly, Supreme Court decisions. A lot of groups lobbied, not the Supreme Court itself, but it gets it there, and you argue the case, whether it's gay marriage or whether it's should private companies have to pay for birth control for their employees if they don't believe in birth control and stuff like that, where you'll see that often the work to some degree of interest groups. And then finally, what's called the revolving door policy, or revolving door syndrome maybe is a better word. And that's where you've got, I could honestly see Pence doing this as a possibility. You've got people leave the Senate, they leave the House, and they retire, or they get primaried, or they get defeated in the general. And instead of just going home and doing whatever, they go, wait a little bit, there's like a gap, and then they get hired by an interest group as a lobbyist. And these guys are very sought after because they know the process, they know people, they know how to get stuff done. So you're going to pay this guy a lot of money to go back in and influence his former mates. Hey, Bill, how you doing? Hey, good to see you, Joe. Yeah. Hey, you know that bill about fire extinguishers? Maybe we got to see our way to do this. So typically what happens is these guys are more likely to have influence. That means they can charge higher prices, higher fees. And the only groups that can really afford the higher fees are the bigger interest groups, more powerful interest groups, which serves to make them that much more powerful, which, advantage big guy as usual, which tends to, change this over here. Here's this. Let's get more favorable regulations for large restaurant chains versus small ones. So McDonald's, Wendy's gets helped, and In-N-Out and Shake Shack gets hurt, or local guys like Lemon Drop or whatever get hurt. So think about how these things kind of relate to each other as well. Okay, so interest groups, there's a lot there, and like I said, we're going to do all this in class. But if you want to get ahead, or you want to sort of a different perspective, then these videos hopefully have been helpful to you. All right, bye.